Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be doing a little chat today on unlocking project success and introduction to Oracle Primavera Cloud, or as we call in the industry, OPC. We're going to start off with a little introduction to our presenters. I'm Dan Beck. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for DR McNatty, and we're going to have with us Scott Esposito. Scott, you want to give a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dan. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Esposito. I'm a solution architect within the construction engineering global industry unit. So we are essentially an independent unit within Oracle. So been here about 18 years now. Originally started from Primavera and happy to be here today. Thank you, Dan.
Before we get involved here, we want to obviously give the safe harbor statement. This is a requirement whenever we're talking about any of the products with Oracle, so we'll give everybody just a quick second to review the safe harbor. To give you a little overview, Oracle Primavera Cloud, or as we call in the industry, OPC, is a comprehensive cloud-based solution designed to manage projects, portfolios, and resources across industries. It integrates scheduling, task management, resource optimization, cost management, portfolio analysis, and collaboration into a unified platform. OPC enables users to plan, monitor, and execute projects with precision. It offers robust tools for real-time decision-making, providing visibility into project performance, and fostering collaboration among stakeholders. Its scalability and flexibility make it suitable for small to large enterprises, ensuring alignment with strategic goals while driving project efficiency and success. The purpose of today's is this last statement. When evaluating Oracle Primavera Cloud, it's essential to ask questions that cover key aspects such as functionality, integration, implementation, and future scalability. The first part we're going to talk about in our Q&A with Scott today is on the Oracle Primavera Cloud schedule portion of it. And Scott, I'm going to be asking you some questions, and hopefully you can provide some in-depth analysis on these, on the answers to our audience. The first question is, what are the core features of OPC compared to other Primavera products that are out there?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, we have a blend of many different projects here at Oracle. Primavera Cloud OPC is a combination of what we've derived from all of our legacy IP products. So P6, PertMaster, Primavera Risk Analysis, OPPM, formerly ProSite, basically taking all that legacy IP and putting it into a new cloud-only SaaS single-tenant solution. So what differentiates this product from other ones is the ability to do multiple things that prior we had to log into multiple separate applications to do. So it's more of a comprehensive, not just scheduling solution, but it also has more of that capital planning, long range capital planning. We get to the scheduling, resource, risk management, and all the way down to short interval task planning from the lean perspective.
Well, we're talking about scheduling. How does OPC handle project scheduling, resource management, cost management, and risk management?
Yeah, so it does all those. There's your answer. So if someone's using, obviously, they're familiar with P6, right? It's just more of a learning curve to get into OPC, but it has the same critical path methodology engine that P6 has. It does your resource cost loading, your schedules. Then we get into more of the mitigation of the risk on a project, not only from a qualitative, quantitative standpoint. And then finally, we can break down those activities into short interval task planning, which is more from the LCI, Lean Construction Institute, around lean, basically breaking down an activity into short interval task. So just basically the high level areas of each one of those.
Perfect. And then talking about scheduling, can OPC handle large scale projects or project portfolios? And are there any limitations that should be considered?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been over the years, it's been around over 10 years right now. And, the enhancements that we put in there, not only just from usability, but for functionality, as far as the resources or the activities, the load, the testing. So it's been regression test up to 200,000 activities. As far as what it can and cannot do, it's meant to scale, right? think you talked about it earlier in your intro is, whether you're, doing, a 50 activity project or 1,000 activity project, OPC has been designed to handle that load, whether it's small or large for an enterprise.
Excellent. One of the questions that comes up a lot is how does OPC handle schedule baseline creation and updates?
Yeah, so there are essentially like three types of baselines: your original, your current, and your supplemental baseline. And then you can have an unlimited amount of unofficial baselines within the system. What makes OPC pretty unique is, what if I forgot to baseline my schedule and I've already started it 2 days in? What I can do is create that baseline, but roll it back to when the project was originally, deemed an official project now. So it has the capability of going down to the minute in a database table. So I can retroactively set my baseline in the system itself. So a really unique feature that only not lends to baselines, but other areas within the application use case as far as scenario comparison, rolling a schedule back to any point in time as well.
Great. And you had mentioned, we've talked about it. Obviously, we know it does scheduling, but does OPC support multi-project scheduling and portfolio management?
Yeah, so within OPC, there's a section called programs. So programs basically will replace what you would traditionally say do in P6 by opening up, say, 5, 10, 15 projects all at once. A program essentially will capture all those projects. You can manually add those in there, or what you can do is have a filter set. So anytime a project satisfies that filter, that project automatically gets put into that program. Within that program, I can schedule all those projects at one time using independent data dates or current data date that you want to set. So we have customers that do this on every Friday. They'll open up their program and they'll push the data date out for all their projects within that program. Within a program as well, there's some nice dashboards that you can gleam on. So if you want to look holistically at your projects, we also have some quick filters to set up in a program view that will basically allow you to look at all the program milestones and look at the Gantt chart, find out what, say, program milestones might be on critical path or might not meet the criteria that's set forward. So much easier to use, I believe, versus what you traditionally would do within P6. So just from a usability standpoint, we're going to see a lot of those types of enhancements or user-friendly views that we make available in OPC.
Great. It was brought up in one of your answers and obviously in the introduction about OPC providing risk management. And I kind of wanted to touch on that because one of the big questions that we hear from a lot of people in the industry is how does OPC's risk management feature compared to that of PRA or Primavera risk analysis? Even some people still call it PertMaster nowadays.
Yep. Yeah, PertMaster's been around a long time. PertMaster was acquired at Primavera, and then once Oracle acquired us, it got rebranded to PRA, Primavera Risk Analysis. So obviously, it's a very robust tool. It's been around for a long time. So our initial goal, obviously, was to bring that functionality and features into Primavera Cloud. We have a dedicated team that just works on the risk component within OPC. So we continually bring out new enhancements, things that you can't even do within PertMaster as well. So from a visuals perspective, running that Monte Carlo simulation, that probabilistic simulation modeling is what's really unique, right? So to have a schedule and risk all in one place versus taking your P6 project out and putting it into another application to run that probabilistic model to get that output, it's all in one central location right now.
Great. I'm glad you brought up the Monte Carlo analysis. That kind of leads me to the next question of the methodologies that OPC supports. Does that include like risk assessment, Monte Carlo simulations, or a qualitative, quantitative risk analysis?
Yeah, so obviously we support both qualitative and quantitative. The quantitative obviously is that Monte Carlo analysis that we're going to do. So if we're just living in P6, we're just doing quantitative analysis. We're not really running a model simulation. So what we can do in Primavera Cloud is run that risk analysis that's going to be giving me my P20, my P90, how many iterations do I want to run? Do I want to include proposed risk? Do I want to run a pre and post response as well? Because once you run your initial analysis, you have to then do your post response plans to help mitigate that risk. And then the output of that is the mean impact, right? So I think if you go to the next slide, the output of that is, what is that impact based upon those activities? So if I'm looking at this in PertMaster, I'm not seeing the breakdown, what contributes to all that risk on one particular activity. I'm just seeing a black bar. What we've done in OPC is basically break this down. What are the biggest contributing factors of risk on an activity? And I can show this in my top 8, my top 10. Where do I want to focus on and how do I want to mitigate that risk? And that will be my mitigation plan that we have available in OPC as well.
Okay, and that obviously leads to the next question, showing these different views. Can OPC integrate schedule and risk data into a single view for project managers and executives?
Yeah, so I mean, we have some nice reports out of the box. We also have the ability to make some nice visual dashboards that executives would want to look at. So we can roll that content up into visual drillable dashboards for end users to consume. Obviously, the work's going to be done here, but then we'll roll that information up into more of a visual dashboard that, executives want to consume that type of view versus, trying to, go through this type of exercise and view. So we'll simplify that view for them.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to the third topic, which is a little bit what I consider something newer on the Oracle Primavera side, and that's the task management feature that's built into OPC. Uh, in your explanation, what is the purpose of task management within OPC?
So it's basically just short interval task planning, right? So obviously it's part of the last planner, the Lean Construction Institute. But what we're essentially proposing here is you're taking an activity, say we're doing vertical construction, it's repeatable work. So we have a set of activities and then we have the associated task with that. We can link those tasks through what we call handoffs. So essentially, this is the hopper view. Left-hand nav is where all my activities and tasks live. And I'm simply it's just dragging and dropping onto the screen. And then what I'm hoping, or what we're doing here is basically replacing what you would typically do on a wall with sticky notes that are color coded. So what we've done here is color code we'll call our specialty trades here. And essentially what we want them to do is we go through our pool planning exercise is, hey, can you commit to doing this particular task? When do you think you can get it done? Right. So we might have to play with these tasks on the screen visually to get an optimal approach. And then what it does is it integrates back to the scheduler to inform them, hey, if there's a task that's going to fall outside the planned completion date, there's a visual indicator on the schedule activities page that will give an indication that something's slipping, right? So we have a couple of options there. I can communicate directly to, say, the site foreman and through discussion threads, right? So I can tag him or her directly. I can also put the schedule in a scenario and play with that schedule to see if we can accommodate that activity task slipping out of the planned duration. So gives you the capabilities to have the interaction between the scheduler and the short interval task planning, which is unique. There's not a vendor out there that has that CPM engine along with this task engine that we have built. So it just makes it more of a comprehensive solution from scheduling to risk to task all in one place.
Actually, I think you may have answered this, but maybe we can expand on it. What do you consider the key features and benefits of the task management?
Holding people honest when they say I'm going to commit to do something, and if they don't commit, they have to give a reason why they've miscommit, right? And we roll this all up into an analysis dashboard so we can we can get the correct scoring for our specialty tier vendors out there, right? So if we constantly see that a particular vendor is committing tasks but missing tasks, maybe they're working on other projects that they need to refocus on ours. It gives us a better visual indication. There's also swim lanes that we can expose on here. So I just want to look at a particular vendor and all their tasks that they're working. So what we can do is put swim lanes on this particular view to then highlight the task that a particular vendor is looking at. And then, of course, the ability to add tasks on the fly, which is a really unique feature as well.
Great, thanks.
Mhm.
So the fourth part of this conversation, and this is what I consider, I put my old scheduler hat back on. Some of the features that we're going to talk about in this piece excite me because we didn't have some of these abilities years and years ago when I was scheduling. And this is what we're going to talk about in collaboration and usability. Uh, One of the big things that people know from using P6 and they may not know about this is within the OPC, how user-friendly for project managers and team members is the collaboration feature within this tool?
Yeah, so it's definitely a different mindset if you're coming from Microsoft Project or P6 or even from Excel for that matter. So, there is a concept of what we see right here in inbox, like what are my tasks due? So, a one-stop shop to understand all your actionable items, right? Maybe something's been refreshed or you're tasked to do something. You can accomplish that right from here. We can also look at just my activities page, right? These are the activities I'm working on per project, and I can knock my activities off by completing them. Never looking at a Gantt chart, right? So we can make it, I wouldn't call it dumb it down, but more user-friendly for those users who are intimidated by scheduling versus someone who has to oversee an entire schedule itself. From a collaboration perspective as well, like I mentioned earlier, you can tag individuals. So if I wanted to say, I wanted to start a discussion thread and tag Dan, I would just use the @ command. Then Dan, you'd get an email notification. If you're in OPC, you'd get a pop-up notification as well. So we're trying to keep the collaboration aspect moving along quickly because we want to make sure that we're completing our task in a timely manner and getting the updates necessary for the scheduler to perform those tasks as well.
And this is all in real time, correct?
Correct. It is all in real time. From another collaboration perspective, there's news feeds, right? So Dan, I want to follow you on a news feed just like social media, so I can actually see everything you've done over the course of several days or a week to see, oh, Dan's been working on these projects, activities. I'm the supervisor perhaps, and I just want to get an insight of, what work is being done. So we can, there's a lot of different various aspects and how we keep that real-time collaboration moving along.
Yeah, I like the news feeds with the social collaboration or what you call the social media feature where you can follow projects, you can follow users, and in real time you can see what they're actually working on. Do you find that as a benefit as part of the collaboration feature inside of OPC?
I do, and I know customers also like who made that update to the schedule, right? We can always see last updated by and who, but then this news feed will show me like what I actually did. I made the change from this value to that value, so it's also like an audit trail, but at the same time to get an understanding of what people are doing in the system, and it shows like old value, new value, or what I've updated, right? And that's that real time feature that's provided. So. Yeah, it's nice just to from a collaborations perspective to see what's going on.
Some of the questions that I get are in regards to the mobile feature within OPC. And can you talk on some of the capabilities that are available for users, whether it be updating, viewing projects, looking at data within what's called Progress, which is the OPC mobile functionality?
Yeah, so there's two components to the mobile app. There's the schedule activity progression, as far as if I'm an owner or assigned resource, and I'm simply putting progress against an activity. And then maybe I'm taking a job site photo of that activity, doing some simple annotations, and giving a reason why this activity is slipping. Then there's the task side, which is that short interval task planning where I can look at the tasks that I've been assigned. So we also that work plan that we saw a few slides ago, we also offer that on the mobile app as well. Ideally, obviously, it would look better on a tablet for real estate size, but we also offer that we call the hopper kind of view, is seeing what tasks are being worked on. But if you have someone in the field, maybe the foreman's just walking the job site and they realize that, one of their trades have, committed to do something, they can mark it complete on the fly, have a conversation with them, or vice versa. They could actually update it as well because we offer just a progress license. So we keep the cost extremely low just to make that collaboration aspect expand into other areas and being the specialty tier contractors that are working on the job site.
All right. So we start off as calling this collaboration and usability, and not a lot of people are administrators of their tools. How
Yeah.
are user permissions and roles managed within OPC to ensure security of your data?
Yeah, so we've developed the security model somewhat similar to say P6, but a little bit different. So within the security section, there are profiles, right? And there's different elements within Primavera Cloud as far as how granular do I want to go? Can you just view the schedule? Can you not update the schedule? What can you see? What can't you see? So setting up those profiles, assign those profiles to a role, and then assigning users to roles. Some users might wear multiple hats, so they might be assigned to different types of roles based upon their projects. People come and go as well, so it's nice just to slot a user into a role, and then if they're no longer on the project, you can just mark them inactive. It frees up a license as well. So if you're used to that granular security, say in P6, the same is achieved in OPC as far as making sure that users can only see what they need to see. There's also a really unique feature. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but workspaces. Workspaces is a way to organize your project structure. So not like an EPS structure, but more like a structure based upon databases. So we have customers who have a workspace for each one of their clients, and that is unique, right? In a workspace, nothing is shared out to other workspaces. So all the global codes, calendars, data, resources that are necessary for their client or their projects is all held in that one particular workspace. Very unique in how we structure the security model around that, and then all the data that comes into the actual application. Not sure if I went on a tangent there, but I forgot to talk about that.
Actually, that kind of leads into what we're going to call our last part of this. And I didn't bring any slides for this one, but it's reporting. And you mentioned workspaces. And this is a great new topic because everybody's used to P6 having a database, and you can report against the projects that are in that database. And seeing that workspaces are very, very similar, but they're incorporated into OPC as a whole. Utilizing workspaces, if you have multiple workspaces, you can still take all of those workspaces and report at the program level. And that gives you an overview of everything that's within OPC instead of what would be in a singular database. Maybe you can expand upon that just a little bit.
Yeah, so as an example, I might have a workspace for public infrastructure, and underneath that is DOTs, water, wastewater, aviation, rail. And each one of those workspaces is very unique and on its own, right? No one sees each other workspace does not share data, but everything rolls up to public infrastructure, right? So at public infrastructure, I can create global codes, push them all down to the children. Versus if I'm a DOT versus an aviation, I have unique codes, I have unique roles and structures, and each one is independent of one another. And I can report independently on those workspaces or all the way up to, say, public infrastructure, glean dashboards off of that, reporting off of that, find out which projects are at risk, right? So it's a new way to address and look at things from a structure standpoint. So you'll still visualize your EPS structure in your head probably, but imagine that as a workspace, and I can keep everything parsed out and separate for each one of those, but still have the ability to roll it up at a program level. Very unique feature. So,
Great. Another question in terms of reporting, because we see this a lot where people are taking information out of their tools to, create reports in third-party tools. How robust are the reporting capabilities in OPC, and does it support custom report creation?
yeah, so we have two different types of reporting aspects. So there's the ability right directly within OPC to create a report, right? So I pick my main subject area, supporting subject areas. I can color code things and sort, group, filter. On runtime, I can say what's the output of that report as well. And then there's the Oracle Business Intelligence Publisher. So you can actually create more graphical reports. So that's what P6 utilizes. That's what OPC, it's what all of our applications at Oracle support. So we make it so that you can have the simple reports that you need directly within OPC, or if you want the more visual ones with, more of like that dashboard feel with graphics, maybe your client's logo on there or something else. So you can take it to the next level. But we do have sufficient reporting just natively for end users to utilize out of the box, and we provide a bunch of reports directly out of the box as well. So it's not a blank slate. You get some predefined roles in the system, codes, non-production, production workspace, and then also reporting. So it's a very good starting point for a lot of our customers just to have that initial kickoff and get the ball rolling within OPC.
And that kind of leads to the last question here, which is basically report formatting. Maybe you can expand a little bit on what is supported and can reports be, say, exported to common formats like PDF, Excel, Word?
Yeah, so when you go at runtime to run a report on demand, there's a default, might set it to PDF, but then there's also HTML, Excel, you name it, all the standard formats that we can output it at, XML as well. And then, when that goes to runtime, you can pick the one you want, but they'll be default. You can also limit. Maybe the only option you're going to give an end user is a PDF file. There's also the ability to export data that you see on the screen, right? So if you have something set up in a certain layout view or view, it'll export out that way. Also the ability to export out templates, right? So if you're trying to backfill data in there, maybe it's a bunch of global codes that you have, you can export out a template and marry that data that you have in another Excel file into the export template and then import it back into OPC. So that's available throughout the tool as far as exporting out data into, say, Excel or importing data that you are currently have with our import templates.
Excellent, Scott. I appreciate all the information you've given for this. And I know we didn't really cover everything. This was more of an introduction into OPC, and we're going to be having some follow-on sessions coming up over the next few months where we're going to get really, really in depth into the scheduling, the risk, the task management, and the collaboration. And we'll actually show more of those features live in the software. But is there anything you'd like to close with, Scott, before we move on to our question session?
No, I appreciate the time, Dan. Look forward to the Q&A session.
All right.